Welcome to The Last Mile, where Olga, Mack, and Lindsey share how to get legal in sales to stop fighting and start closing clean.
Episode number 4 on our Last Mile series. Today, we're going to be talking how contracts reflect culture, not just compliant. So, welcome back, Olga, to Contracted, where sales meets legal. I'm John Lindsey, that is, your friendly neighborhood. It sounds like Spider-Man, your friendly neighborhood sales whisperer. Today, talking about something most sellers overlook until it's too late. What your contract says about you before you say a word.
And I'm Olga Mack, legal translator, trust advocate, and someone who believes your contract is more than legal boilerplate. It's a statement of values, a mirror of culture, and yes, it can win or lose deals.
Yeah, and look, since I've started doing this with you, I've learned how true that is, right? So here's the punchline of today's episode. If your contract doesn't match your culture, your customer won't know which one to believe. So confusing. So let's talk a little bit about your contract being that cultural signal. You've spent months on branding. Your pitch deck is refined. Your AE nails the discovery call. Your pricing's even competitive, but then buyer gets your MSA and suddenly everything feels different.
Yeah, exactly. Your terms communicate your actual attitude toward customers. Here's what buyers read between the lines. If your indemnity clause shifts risks to them in its entirety, you are not really a partner. You're seeking an insurance. And if your liability cap is 0, you don't stand behind your product. Period. And if your language is obscure, hard to read, understand, you don't value transparency. You, my friend, are a black box. So, buyers don't just review your contracts for legal reasons. They really actually analyze it for subtext. They ask, is this company fair or combative? Are they confident in their offering or trying to sneak a trapdoor under me? And most importantly, will they be good partners when things go wrong or questions arise? Because guess what? World changes, things do go wrong, and questions do arise.
Yeah, and here's a trap, Olga. You might not even know what your contract is actually saying. So, especially if legal inherited a Frankenstein template that's been redefined to death by lawyers who are no longer even at the company.
Yeah, right. Most companies don't realize that their so called standard contract is neither standard nor strategic. It's a historical draft masquerading as policy.
Yikes. And so here's the challenge. Would you sign your own contract if the roles were reversed? And if the answer is no, probably shouldn't expect your buyer to sign it with a smile, Olga.
Yeah. Let's break this down into practical moves that teams can make this quarter, today, to align contracts with company culture. I really recommend doing at least one thing, which is my number one point: run a contract culture audit. Put your top 3 contract templates, grab a whiteboard or a shared document or whatever virtual tool you like to collaborate in, and then answer: is the tone consistent with our public brand? Like, do we even sound like us? Do our clauses signal partnership or do they signal punishment? Because I'll tell you, friends, not everyone is into punishment. Also, where are we being vague or overly broad? And what's lost in that ambiguity? Do we actually live up to the obligations we impose on the other party? Would we have taken that responsibility in our contracts. Then invite sales and legal teams to review them together and have honest conversations.
Sounds like counseling, Olga. Here we go. Real talk. So if your contract reads like it was written to defend a nuclear power plant and you're only selling 12K SaaS subscriptions, you probably have a mismatch.
Yeah, if you're punishing, it's not going to be for everyone. That's all there is to it. Number two, use independent certification to validate balance. This is where tools like Term Scout Certify come in. We independently assess whether your contract is vendor favorable, customer favorable, or balanced or market based on thousands of data points. The result, you don't have to guess how your contract feels to the market. You can prove it. Sometimes it's hard to self-assess. You need a third party to take your temperature and give you an objective read.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. And, here's the point, Olga, when you show up to the deal with a certified fair contract, you're not just speeding up the close, right? You're signaling confidence, maturity, transparency, all the things your buyers want to believe about you, right? But need the evidence to trust.
Yeah, and then rewrite for tone, not just terms. Legal doesn't have to mean robotic. Rewriting legalese in plain English is a cultural choice. It says we want you to understand your rights. We're not trying to hide the ball. Just because you're trained in legalese doesn't mean your client, internal or external, should not have a personality.
Yeah, and so you've got some examples here, and remember, I'm in sales, so I might not even be able to read these. But here's some thoughts as to how not to sound like that, right? So instead of notwithstanding the foregoing, try even if that's the case. Instead of without limitation, say, for example, instead of terminate for convenience, explain who, how, and why. Clear language, Olga, builds trust. Obscure language confuses people and erodes it like me. I don't even know what half that said.
And that's how John is becoming a junior lawyer on my legal team. He translates legalese into plain English and brings you along for the ride.
You're here.
All right. Number 4, create values clause. Some companies now include simple clause in their contracts that state their commitments around things like data use, privacy, accessibility, sustainability, AI. You are already making these promises in your public materials. You are already doing during sales. You're already doing it in presentations, public statements. Why not enshrine them in your agreement? Why not show up fully as opposed to a diluted version of self?
Yeah, and Olga, when your contract reflects your values in writing, it becomes a competitive differentiator, especially in enterprise deals where trust is table stakes.
Yes. And honestly, if you do nothing else, do this. Read your own contract like a buyer. Then ask, does this reflect the company I want to be?
Yeah, and the next step would be if it doesn't, stop accepting the fact that legal just said so as an excuse, right? Rewrite it, update it, certify it, and make it as modern as your product.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Culture isn't just what you say on stage, it is what shows up in the fine print. It is how you live it. It is what you do day in and day out. It is how you show up everywhere, including your contracts. Why? Because contracts are powerful. They set tone, expectations, and relationships. If you want buyers to trust you, show them that trust lives in your paperwork, not just promises. Embody trust everywhere you show up.
Yeah, it seems so practical, right? Because at the end of the day, a contract, it isn't just a compliance artifact. It's a commitment, right? And commitments build companies and relationships, right? That's how it works.
That's right. And next episode, we will talk about what happens when those commitments get redlined and how to navigate red lines like a team, not rivals.
Yeah, well, I'll be there because we're calling it Red Lines and Rescue Missions. And I, for one, can't wait to join you.
In the eyes of our children, yeah, in the faces smiling in